What's up, family? You know who it is, your girl, Dr. Shonna, and I am ready to talk about martial law. I think this is a conversation we need to have, and I know I always say I'm not going to be here long, but tonight I'm going to really try not to be here long. So I want to give a big shout out to all my moderators that are going to be entering the chat room soon, and I want to say thank you guys for your continuous support, your love, your patience, your kindness, your kind words, your thoughts, your wishes, your gifts, your donations. I want to thank you guys all for that. But here's what I must ask you. I'm going to ask of you guys to do me a favor. It costs you nothing to do so, and that is hit that like button, hit that share button, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing to like, share, or subscribe, and that is what I ask of you. Hello to all of you. Hey, Taylor, we got our first moderator in the room. I hope you guys are really ready to talk about martial law because we all have been hearing about this whole thing regarding martial law. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why so many people are so perplexed about what martial law is, how does it get implemented, and why are everyone panicked right now? The reason why I say why is everyone panicked right now is because at least this president has been talking about martial law for a few years now. He has been talking about sending in troops to certain cities, and Chicago has been one of those cities. He's been saying it for a while now. So I don't understand why, in the American people's ears, especially in our community, we are hearing things right now as though it's the first time ever. So I think it's important for us to have this conversation about martial law. And I think it's important for us to also be prepared about what we should be expecting. Now, am I saying definitively that martial law is coming? That is not what I'm saying. Am I telling you that it's not coming? I am not saying that either. I'm saying that I've always been taught in growing up, listen to what a person says and also watch their actions. And this president has been saying a lot of things and he has been moving forward on a lot of things. So I think that it is worth the conversation. I think it is worth the preparation. I think it is worth the critical discourse. So this may not be your best video ever for everyone who likes to be entertained if you're new to this channel. But if you're coming here for school, I suggest you get a pen and paper so you can get some understanding. So let's really talk about this. Who is saying she does? She does what? Somebody said 3 nights in a row of Dr. Shonna. It must be a lucky week. We love you. It is a lucky week because you already know I don't come on unless I have something to say. But I think we really have to have this conversation because I have a couple of people that I work with, particularly that have gone to Chicago back to their family, and they've been explaining to me how Chicago is and what they've been feeling and how their anxiety and their stress has returned. So, needless to say, they're back in therapy. So that's a great thing for me, I guess, but not for them. However, I figured I'd talk to the people about it. Shout out to JB Fan 1981. They are one of our community members who've joined this channel. Everything you said about Chicago is true. Lived there 21 years. So let's get ready. First, let's start this conversation by defining what it means to implement martial law. And I think a lot of people do not really know what martial law is. They hear about it, they hear all the hype, you hear all these woke people and conscious people all talking about martial law, but no one really, I'm not going to say no one, because that's not true. How often are people truly breaking down what it means? So that's what I'm going to do here in this video. So martial law is when the military replaces the standing government in that state. So it's not a law that's going to be, it can happen through all 50 states, but that's typically not something that happens. The reason why Chicago is being targeted is because the president has expressed concerns about the incompetence, in his opinion. Now, I'm not saying that Chicago's political party is incompetent, but I'm not saying they're not. I'm not from Chicago. I can only tell you what we see on YouTube and social media. I'm not from Chicago. So I'm going to need all the residents of Chicago to let me know if you think your government is incompetent. Apparently, your precious, precious, like mentally precious. Oh, Lord. He is mentally precious. Your precious president thinks that the local government there is incompetent. So what he is intending to do is implement that part of martial law is when you go in and you just take over the government. What does that mean to take over the government? First of all, for an example, the highest ranking military official will replace the state head. So if your state head is the governor no longer makes the rules when the federal government comes in. And the jurisdiction that oversees law enforcement, which is habeas corpus, I think that's what it's called, the jurisdiction that oversees law enforcement is suspended. So your rights, no one cares about your rights. F your rights. Pretty much that's what it means when martial law comes in. You don't have your individual rights. You don't have your constitutional rights, and you damn sure don't have your freedom. I hope you're really listening to me, because when I start breaking it down as it relates to Chicago, I want you guys to put all of this into perspective. You don't have constitutional rights. You don't have individual rights, and you don't have your freedom. There is no person, no judge, no magistrate sitting there that says, let me see if you guys were right or wrong about doing this. Let me see if you can go ahead and get an arrest warrant. Let me see if you have jurisdiction over this kind of claim. There is no one there to say that, because once the military comes in, they take over all of that. That is suspended. So that pretty much means they can kick in your door waving a 4-4. All you heard is, okay, sorry. You know, you guys know I like my ratchet music. I played on silent, not silent, but I played in like volume 2 or 3. Unless I'm in my car, I'll be bumping it. So I digress. Let me go back. Pretty much what I'm saying is, if they feel the need to go and arrest you by any means necessary, they're going to arrest you. And you can't be like, yo, man, you violated my constitutional rights. You have no rights. This is bullshit. Why I gotta be in my house at 7 o'clock at night? You know, we got a right to freedom in this country. You have no freedom. Now when martial law comes into effect. Martial law can be the response to inefficient government. It can be the response to corrupt government. It can also be the response to malicious government. There's different reasons. This also could be the response to natural disasters. It doesn't have to be something failing with the government, but there are different reasons. But in this case, the president has been talking about martial law, in essence, being released or being implemented in Chicago since he took chair. This is not new. I have theories around this that I'm going to express to you guys in a little bit, but I have theories around why this is happening. Why I think, two reasons why I think martial law is being imposed in Chicago. Typically, there could be an uprising that would happen, right? That's why you see what's happening in Portland, where the federal government, federal response to the rioting and the uprisings in Portland. You already know about that happening. It doesn't seem to be doing too well over there. And that's why many people do not want martial law to be implemented in Chicago, because we don't know how this is going to get. Chicago is already about their business. The military is going to come in there about their business, and it's going to become do or die. Who's going to survive? That's what it's going to really get down into. But I'll talk about that a little later. Nonetheless, I also want to touch on the fact that the military can arrest and detain without trial anyone who's in the area and threatens public safety. That is something you need to put a star next to if you wrote that down. I'm going to repeat it. The military can arrest and detain without trial, without a judge, without, you have a right to state your piece and see if legally you have to be retained or detained, or you could be let go without trial. That's not going to happen. Anyone who threatens public safety. Anyone who threatens public safety. So that is very vague to me in its description. Anyone who threatens public safety. What do they mean by that? If you are outside, there's a curfew that is implemented. And let's say the curfew is you have to be indoors by 8 p.m. and you are outside at 8:45 p.m. You could be seen as a threat to public safety and you can be arrested. Period. period. So when you hear these kind of things, these are the statements that you ought to be putting stars next to, especially if you live in Chicago. Here's another thing that's important. I don't know how often they actually do it in the United States, but martial law is not a United States of America type of situation. It is known to happen in many countries across the globe. Some of the most crucial martial laws implementations have been in the Philippines. But what I do know is when you enact martial law, you can censor the media. I feel like we're already in martial law, right? You can censor the media, you can detain, you can arrest. I already said that. But I think it's important to know the key factors that you can censor the media. Now, let's get back to y'all president, America's president. Let me be fair to some people on this channel who they love their president. They love Donald J. Trump. And I try to be impartial because I don't take none of this stuff personally affects me, right? But I try to be impartial. I try to keep the sarcasm to a minimum. However, I'm probably going to fail at that because I fail at that often, and that's okay. It's my channel. But here's what your president says. See the sarcasm, your president. Here's what your president said. He has been talking about being a president of law and order for the longest. That is what he ran his campaign on. I am your president of law and order. He loves saying that. He has always loved saying it. And you got to understand when a president or a candidate, because he's been saying it when he was a candidate. So you got to understand when they say things like this, you got to understand what they're conditioning your mind to receive for how they're going to run their campaign. And it's the way they run their campaign that determines the likelihood of them being elected into the chair. He ran his campaign that way because what he wanted law enforcement, whether it's local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, military, doesn't matter. What he wanted them to know is that I am your president. I am going to have your back. I am going to help you do your job by any means necessary. I am going to support you. And whatever decisions you make, so we can make sure we have a law and order country. And it was on that he gained the support of a lot of military people. Let me tell you something. I counsel a lot of people in law enforcement. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to give you guys any branch. I'm going to keep that confidential. And many of them, whether they are Black, whether they are Hispanic, or other, everybody else fits in the other category, including white people in the other. They are voting for this president in 2020. They love what he stands for when it comes to law and order, how he deems law and order. They love it. They love it. So he has ran on that ticket for a long time. If you don't believe me, how you have to listen to what these people are saying, let's go back to the war on poverty. Y'all know what president that was with the war on poverty, right? Thank you for that donation, Sid. Sid says, you know, Biden's whole shit-tick is out law and order and the Republicans, just like Clinton. They all need something to run on. But let me tell you, remember the president that talked about the war on poverty? That was your president, Ronald Reagan. And he started the narrative behind the welfare queen. Do you remember that? I forgot what her name is. I think it's Linda Taylor or something like that. Linda Taylor, some name, something like that. You guys got to look it up. But even though he conflated some of the information, he made up some of the information, he wasn't really factual of the stuff that he was saying out there, but he started this whole war on poverty, and he used her, the lady who committed serious welfare fraud in Chicago, fact check me if you don't believe me, the lady who committed this serious welfare fraud, even though she was coined as being Black in the media, the 1930 census has her and her family members all identified as white, but we're not going to get into that conversation for this video. But the point is, he ran on that ticket. It was, I am the president of the war on poverty, right? He didn't say those exact words, but that was his speaking point. And he used the welfare queen as his talking points in many of his speeches, and that's what sold the people. And from that moment on, the face of welfare changed. It went from white people mainly owning it to them taking pictures and news articles, news reporters, and they're just showing black faces, black faces, black faces. So that black face had been associated with the war on poverty. And this is how he ran his presidential campaign, and this is how he got elected. So when we hear this president constantly talking about he is the president of law and order, he's been saying that. He's been saying that before he got elected. Don't you think he's going to have to follow through with what he is saying? Because now is the right time for him to do it, because he knows his strategy when it comes to re-election. This is a man who has reality shows. And what's that show he had? Apprentice, if I'm not mistaken. This man runs this presidency like he is on one of his shows, and he knows what it takes in order to garner the attention of the people so that he can get those votes. He knows who he's speaking to. He knows about demographics. He knows about marketing. He knows about target audience. And guess what, Chicago? You just happen to be the pick of the litter for his next campaign run. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? We'll see. Mark my words tonight. He also stated a while ago that state governments has failed to take action. And if they're not going to take action, he's going to step in and do it for him. Do it for them. That is not anything new. He has been saying this for a while. So I'm just waiting for that to happen, because that's what he's been doing. That's what he's been pushing for. And guess what? He's going to have the backing of whomever the party is, the Republican Party, and all those other people. I don't know. He's going to have the backing, and they're going to support him through this. And ain't nobody going to say anything, because let me tell you something. Not only can the martial law arrest and detain you, but they can kill you. They can shoot to kill. And you already have, well, you already know, I think there's provocateurs that's going out there shooting up people in Chicago. I already think there's government provocateurs that have been set up to send, to go into communities and to shoot people. I honestly do believe that. I believe that there are government provocateurs that have to inflate these numbers to give reason why law and order has to come into place, and to give reason why martial law has to come into place into Chicago. And I think this is going to be the pilot group. You hear me? This is going to be the pilot group. Why not? It's a perfect storm. Why not? You know, again, everything I'm saying here is my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. I want to hear your thoughts, just as long as it's respectful, but that's what I think is happening here. It's a pilot program. Alonzo Hall, one of our community members who joined the channel, says to someone named Desiree, I have a friend who is a real estate broker, and a few years ago, he begged me to come for 23 miles of waterfront property. I guess you're talking about Chicago, Alonzo. You having a private conversation? Y'all gotta just let me know when you having your private conversations, community members to the channel, because you know I'm definitely gonna read your comments. I'm definitely gonna pay attention to your comments. So when you having private conversations, damn, I mean, you got me reading your private conversation all out loud. But nonetheless, so I honestly think, yes, Kamikaze. The Kamikaze said, why no suspects in Shy? There are no suspects. I honestly think there are government provocateurs. This is my opinion, but I really do think that is government provocateurs, and I think it was set up. This president has been talking about this for a very long time, and it hasn't calmed down. It hasn't gotten better. So why not? Why not make it the perfect storm? Why not go in there and see how it would look if you go in and take over? Why not go in there and if you, since you have the license to kill, you the freedom to kill without jurisdiction over any court because it's suspending habeas corpus, why not go in there and just shoot people? After all, y'all killing each other, right? Allegedly, you're killing each other. Why not? I mean, Chicago is one of those places that is so heavily hit on many areas. You know how we were talking about all the missing women who have been reported and unresolved in Chicago. You had all the missing women. Remember that? Before we're talking about all the crazy shootings, we were talking about all the missing people. And then we went into talking about all the shootings. And I'm not saying that Chicago has not always had shootings and killings, because they have, but I'm saying for some reason, in the last 4 to 5 years, the media has been really honing in on that city. I mean, like, that city has been under a magnifying glass for a long time. And the only thing they needed was the right person to come in to do what they wanted to do anyway. I know people are going to be like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Here's your conspiracy theory. It's a thought. It's a thought. I'm not spreading any conspiracies. I'm not telling you that this is exactly what's happening. I said this is what I believe. This is what I believe. What else has the president said? This is what he said. He's mobilizing. This is what he said a while ago. This is not something new, but is coming into fruition right now. He said he's mobilizing all available federal resources, both civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, to protect the rights of law-abiding citizens or law-abiding Americans. And let me tell you, for some people in Chicago, both white and black, for some people in Chicago, their ears want to hear this. And I'm going to tell you why they want to hear this. Because they are terrified. They are terrified of what is going on in their city. They are terrified of the lives that are being lost around them, or injured and wounded around them. They are terrified. So that's how it works in America. I can't speak about any other country. I'm speaking about America. That's how it works. We have to always create either the illusion of fear or the reality of fear. We have to always create fear and anxiety. Doesn't that work in almost every facet of American life? You got to create the fear in order for people to want you to come and solve their problem. It has to be the fear. It has to be the anxiety that is created. They have been doing a wonderful job highlighting all the killings constantly. You're seeing it all over social media. You're seeing it in news channels. You're seeing it in newspapers. It's always something about Chicago, 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 Chicago. So just imagine how the residents of Chicago feel, especially those who are fearful for their lives for the crime that is allegedly occurring. And I know there are crimes occurring, but the reason why I'm using the word allegedly, because again, it is my opinion that there are some government provocateurs that are creating the fear and the anxiety within the community so that their plan of action can be followed through. Thank you so much for that donation. He said, peace and power, Black family. We will create our own and relinquish any opposition. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Alonzo, because you're making a very important point. But, okay, maybe it's not a but. Maybe I should use the word and. You're making a very important point. And is it realistic right now? It might be, it might not. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just exploring. Is it realistic right now that that is what we are going to do? We are going to create our own and relinquish any opposition. I don't know. And I'm trying to be optimistic, but there's some things that I don't want to be emotional about. I want to be critical in my thoughts. I don't know if many of you guys follow me on Facebook, but I had put up on Facebook not too long ago. It was funny as hell. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, hundreds of people shared it because it was funny as hell. It wasn't meant to be funny, but it was funny as hell. I put up a meme and it said how Black people are in their own hood, And it's like this fierce, ferocious lion looking all scary. And then it said how Black people are around the oppressor. And then it had the lion from the Wizard of Oz, the one if he only had courage, he was all meek and scared and timid. So when you say we're going to create our own opposition, the reason why I say I don't know, because we have proven as a community we can get up in each other's faces, we can puff our chest in each other's faces, but when it comes to fighting off oppressive forces, we haven't been successful at that. And not because we won't be successful, but because, I don't know, the conditioning, the engineering, the programming, it just automatically kicks in. And for some reason, I think a turn off switch goes in the back of these street thugs. And when the oppressor comes around, the turn off switch, popo, 5-0. Everybody on good behavior. Everybody on good behavior. So I would like to see that. I just don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying. I just don't know. The cowardly, yes, the cowardly lion. Thank you for that, Barbara. You already know. He was all like, when the oppressor comes around, it's like, ooh, I mean, who? You don't even got to roar. You're not even roaring. Like, what are you doing? And we see that all the time in our community. I'm not even trying to be funny. But that's what we see in our community. Y'all big and bad. Y'all big and bad with somebody that looks like you. Instead of having Black love, you want to have Black hate. Y'all big and bad. But when Popo come through, y'all ain't got nothing to say. Popo come through, slam your daughter on the ground, put your foot on your son's head, put your knee, rest in peace, on George Floyd's neck, and what the community do? Come on, get the fuck off him. If you ain't have that motherfucking badge, I'll fuck you up. I'll be sitting there like, dude, please, you ain't doing a goddamn thing. That's how I be feeling. Shout out to Malston Patrick for that donation. He says everyone talking about Black on Black crimes, but no one is looking at law enforcement failures to protect Black communities. Black people live in fear from their criminals and their police. Well, you're absolutely right. So what I'm saying to you, Mr. Patrick, is why would you expect law enforcement to come into, let's say, Chicago and protect the community? If I'm saying that I believe there's provocateurs among law enforcement, why would you expect them to come in and protect the community? You know what I mean? I'm not talking about Black on Black crime. That's not my focus. I understand what you're presenting, but that's not my focus. My focus is there's a sinister act about to occur. There's a sinister energy that is occurring, and I think many of us have scales on our eyes, our rose-colored glasses. I think many of us are missing what is happening. I believe that messages have been sent out there, both obvious messages and subtle messages. I believe dog whistles have been blown. I believe shots have been fired. Warning shots have been fired. But for some reason, many people are not catching it. So this video isn't about Black on Black crime. You clearly not going to hear me talk about that. I will criticize some things that need to change in our community because it's not Black love, it's Black hate. Absolutely, without a doubt. But this is not a Black on Black crime video. This is, are you paying attention to what's about to come video? Are you ready to see the enactment of martial law video? Are you prepared for Hollywood movies coming to life in your community video? You know that movie, what is that movie? Hunger Games? Was that the movie, The Hunger Games? That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Hunger Game movie. Remember how the military forces, the powers that be had took over and the people were controlled and they had no rights. They had no say over anything. And then once a year they would all gather and the little big-headed lady would come through and she would select the people who was going to fight. That she would read the name and everyone's name who got read, they had to come and they had to fight to survive. And they were just fighting to entertain the powers that be. Y'all remember that movie? And you couldn't fight back. And if your name got called, you couldn't even resist it. You get beat down. You know what my mama used to say. I always tell y'all that. Almost every video that I do like this, I let y'all know what my mama used to say. May she rest in peace. But she used to say, them people don't make movies for no reason. Those people don't make movies for no reason. You're about to see Hunger Games up in Chicago. The perfect pilot. The perfect pilot for martial law. You're about to see it. Thank you for that donation, Ray Jones. Thank you for that. Here's the immediate effects that the president has said is going to happen, and he has already made that happen in Portland. I don't think they're doing a great job in Portland. I mean, aren't a few of the Army troops, didn't they get blinded by lasers? Maybe they weren't Army troops. Maybe they were U.S. Marshals. But I could have sworn I read an article that somebody had shared with me that there were lasers that was being shone on the officers, the military forces to fight back. And it got up in their eyes and blinded them. And now they got permanent damage. And they military. They military. But anyway, somebody said more likely The Purge. That's Film Lore 46. The reason why I didn't say The Purge is because if you remember The Purge, it was that sounding of the alarm at 12 a.m. and it was people on the streets killing other people on the streets. The Purge has already started happening in Chicago, so you late on that, brother. I'm talking about martial law, which is different than The Purge. But here's the immediate effects. He wants to end the riots and lawlessness, recommend governors to deploy the National Guards to dominate the streets. And if the mayors and the governors don't act, if they do not employ the National Guards to dominate the streets in record numbers, he wants more guards than protesters. He's going to solve the problem for them. This is the kind of conversation he's having. I will solve the problem for them. He said he will be dispatching thousands of heavily armed military forces. He loves to put that heavily armed statement in there. Military forces. He's going to be dispatching thousands of them. So let's really get into it. Thank you for that donation, Dylan Turner. I appreciate that, love. So what does that mean for Chicago? Let's get into it and I'm out of here. I think, and you guys got to let me know in Chicago, I think the city of Chicago is torn. I think there are people there that welcome this to happen because the fear and the anxiety has been created. It is present. It is both real for some people and is imagined for other people. But nonetheless, the fear and anxiety is there without a doubt. So I think that those are the people who are welcoming this to happen. Those are the people that saying about time. Those are the people that saying we need the government to intervene. Chicago streets are out of control. Babies are dying. Women are dying. Kids are dying. Men are dying. We need the government to come in. So they're going to welcome it. They're going to welcome it. They're going to be the ones that's going to abide by all the rules. They're going to be in their house at curfew. They're not going to start no problems. They don't want to have no problems. And they're not going to jump up to get beat down. That's another song, right? Punch them up. Remember? Punch them up to get beat down. Dylan said Chicago is off the hook and need the help. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? And I'm not saying that Dylan is not right. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I'm saying to you are there are a lot of people in Chicago that think that way. But then you have some residents who are like aware of the underlying agenda and they're prepping their family and they're preparing their family for protection. So I think there's three types of people I'm noticing in Chicago. You have the people who are welcoming it, the people that are saying, listen, the government needs to come in and make this happen because I'm tired. We should not have to live like this. When the hell are they going to give a FUCK about us? I mean, as I said in my video yesterday, you can't be tired now. You should have been tired when you went to those polls to vote for your local government, your mayor, right? The governor, your state officials, senator, councilman. When you went to go vote for legislation, when you went to go vote for the parties of House of Representatives, that's when you should have been tired. But like I said yesterday, when you're too busy to do the research and you just want to vote the same party all the way down, and you wonder why shit ain't getting better in your community, maybe you got to do something differently. But we have that kind of population. Then we have the population out of conscious population. They are aware, they're critical thinkers, they are woke, they are all those other things that you would say, and they are understanding the underlying agenda. Their understanding is more than what meets the eye. They're not the people that says, whatever's on the surface, I believe. They're saying, something is up and we got to do what we have to do to protect our family, to make sure we're safe, because we don't have the power to stop what's about to come in, but we have the power to determine how our family gets through this difficult time. Then you have the people who are ready. They're ready to die, and they're ready to take people with them. And that's what creates this whole recipe of a storm, a disaster. Now, are there going to be a lot of people in Chicago who's ready? I don't know. But like I said about the lion, the meme that I put with the ferocious lion, and then you have the cowardly lion, I cannot tell you that everybody's going to be ready. But I do know that when people don't have nothing else to live for and they have nothing else to lose, those are people who be ready. They be ready and they be on it. So I'm not sure how this is going to go down. Dylan Turner saying so many families are afraid. There are a lot of families that are afraid. Absolutely. Eddie Kane is saying civil war is coming whether we like it or not. And the kamikaze is saying black law enforcement is not black. Right? Curtis Johnson is saying he's talking about sending troops to those Democratic cities that's riddled with crimes, them gangs going to fight back. That's what I think. I honestly do think that, because I got to listen to the mayor, Lightfoot. I think she's the mayor, right? Or the governor, mayor. I think Lightfoot is the mayor. But I have to listen to some of the words, even though sometimes she contradicts herself, but I have to listen to what she's saying when she's saying, don't send them here for that reason. I think this mayor knows the mindset of her community. And I think she knows that if they come in to regulate the so-called law and order, and they come in under martial law, and they start detaining people, shooting people, arresting people, beating people down, kicking in apartment doors to grab people out. I'm saying that can happen. That can happen under martial law. If this starts happening, I think she knows her community. I know there's going to be some people who are ready to die, especially when it comes to where our community as a whole is right now. Our community is tired. We're tired. We're tired from multiple angles. We're tired from exploitation. We're tired from oppression. We're tired from discrimination. We're tired from racism. We're tired from Black hate. We're tired from criticisms. We're tired. We're tired. Right? So what are you going to do when you get that tired? Sid is telling me to check my text. Sid, brother, my text, my cell phone's on the other side of my living room. I can't get up to go get it, brother. Can't get up to go get it. So you're going to have to find another way to get me that information. Said email me. Email me. I'm bringing up my email. So when my phone hits for the email, I can go ahead and just read your email real quick. But anyways, I was saying the community is tired. They're tired. And I don't know how this is going to look, but they're tired. So here's what I want you guys to do, and then I'm out of here. I told you I was not going to be long. Here's what I want y'all to do. Here's what Matteo Nelson is saying. There is nothing principled about hoodlums. Call them what you want. They are the biggest hindrance to progress. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying to see, here's what I want to say. Your statement holds truth. I am not disagreeing with you. But you have to understand when martial law comes in and federal government comes in to take over and they suspend any jurisdiction within that city, that state, or wherever they're doing it at, when they suspend any jurisdiction, my question to you is how will they know if you are a hoodlum or just an urban black man trying to get your ass home? How would they know that? Maybe I'm ignorant of that. Maybe there's going to be something on your forehead that says I'm law abiding and I don't have a criminal record. Maybe that's going to be, they're going to hand that out to the people of Chicago that they can put on their forehead or across their chest so that the law enforcement, when they come in, they know not to do anything to those people. And I'm not being funny. I know I'm being sarcastic, but how do we know that? Maybe you have the answer, right? Thank you for that donation, Queen One Love. So Queen Love One Love says the troops just came to Gastonia, North Carolina over a Tony's ice cream protest. Now the KKK and Black Panthers going head to head. Police are protecting the KKK is sickening. Thank you for your wisdom and truth. I'm telling you, we don't know how things are going to go. So yes, somebody said, Doc, we have to stop killing each other. You're absolutely right. And again, freedom. I don't want anyone to think I'm saying, well, keep killing each other, because I can't. Just listen. I always tell you what my mama used to say. But my grandmother, who's 95 years old, she delivered me. She was my mother's midlife. I was born in midwife. I was born in her apartment, the same apartment in the projects that she lives in the back room. Same apartment. She's 95 and she still lives alone. But let me tell you how she raised us. So I'm gonna let y'all into a little something, and this is gonna be language that probably is not appropriate for YouTube, and hopefully they don't do anything to my channel. But let me tell you what my grandmother used to say to me. Thank you for that donation, Kimberly Brown Coakley. I appreciate that. My grandmother used to say to us, when you come through that door, leave nigga right outside that door. Because I ain't raised no niggas. So my grandmother used to say. Another thing she used to say, you can call me Afro. Well, she said, you can call me Afro-American. You can call me colored. You can call me Negro. But what I am not is a nigger. The other thing she used to say is, I don't care if you black or white. A nigger is a nigger. So I'm not telling you that the hoodlums are going to get what's coming to them. I'm not telling you that I'm against that. That's what's going to happen. But what I am asking to the community is just think about it. I'm not telling you be afraid of it or anything, but just think about it. How do federal agents who is pumped up with adrenaline, who's ready to shoot and kill because they have a license to kill and because all of that other stuff is suspended, who can knock you down to the floor, detain you, arrest you, hold you for however long they want to hold you, because again, the law is suspended. You have no constitutional rights. You have no individual rights. You have no freedoms. You have no civil rights. You might just throw your rights out the window. They can take you as a prisoner of the war that you created in your community. How do they know who is a hoodlum versus who is not? How do they know? That's what I'm asking. So here's what I say as a solution. Now, this is not the solution. I think this is a solution for what we can do in our control, because there's going to be some things that we cannot control. And we already see how that's happening. Once things start moving, it starts moving and there's nothing you can do. So here are some things that you can do. First of all, families, I want you to always hold in your mind, because it's about being prepared. And sometimes how we get prepared is that we have to face the reality. And the reality, even if it's not here, you have to imagine what can happen in order for you to prepare. That's what preparation is all about. What can happen? We don't necessarily know what will happen, but what can happen. I want you to imagine what it's going to look like when you see thousands of military, heavily armed forces walking through your community with guns, all types of heavy militarized guns, with tanks coming through your community, with bullhorns telling you to get inside of your house, with them letting you know that there is a curfew and your curfew is early. I don't care if you want to go outside to walk your damn dirty dog, take your ass in the house. How do you think that is going to look? I want you to imagine that in your head, how you're not going to be able to do certain things because you have no freedoms. You have no constitutional rights. You have no individual rights. How will that look? Once you get that picture in your head, I want you to hold that frame, because that can become your reality in Chicago. That can become your reality overnight. I want you to hold that frame, and here's what I want you to do. First of all, if you have not already been doing it for your sons and daughter, you better get a control over your sons and daughters. You better sit them down. Y'all better have family discussions. Y'all better know your meeting points. Y'all better know how to check in with each other. Everybody's cell phone better be paid. Everybody better learn how to abide by our check-in so we can make sure that we are all safe. Do not be so lackadaisical that you're not even thinking about what can happen. I'm not telling you to live in fear. I'm telling you, don't live in ignorance. Thank you for that donation, Sid. And I'm looking now. I'm telling you to live in with being smart. Okay? That's one thing I'm telling you. A second thing I'm telling you about getting ready is you got to pick and choose your battles. You got to pick and choose your battles. Now, if you're accustomed to popping off and arguing and telling them to F you, get the F out of here. If you ain't have that gun, I will whoop your behind. You might find your behind whoop. And you got to be prepared. So if you're not going to pick and choose your battles, if you're just going to be a loose cannon because you want to, because you know some of us are some loose cannons. Let's just be honest. Some of us are some loose cannons. And we can't control our emotions. Some of us think that people are going to excuse us and our behaviors because we're angry. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. You got to control your emotions and pick and choose your battle. The third thing I want to say is you got to expect to have some severe discomfort and some unrest. Expect it. Expect it. Don't get caught out there and looking all surprised. Like, what the hell is happening? And then you want to get mad. And then you want to take actions at the wrong time. And you find yourself tied up with one of those little plastic things that they put on their wrist and zip it up and put your ass in the back of their car and take you way out yonder to do I don't know what. So you have to have some discomfort. If you got one of these gang members up in your house, if you got, as one of the people in the chat said, a hoodlum, if you got a hoodlum up in your house, and your house is under surveillance, and the local law enforcement knows that the hoodlum lives in your house, and the local enforcement is utilizing the military intervention, and they tell the military intervention, we're going to go in and kick that door down, we're going to take them, because now we ain't got to worry about no jurisdiction. We ain't got to worry about no law and order. I mean, you're not law and order. We don't have to worry about your constitutional rights. Oh no, we can just kick down the door and arrest everybody in the goddamn house. You got to be prepared for it. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I'm saying you got to be prepared for it. You got to be prepared for it. Mika Wood said, for real, expect it. Don't say I never thought this would happen. Oh no, they cannot say I never. I'm telling you today. Trump has been telling you forever. Do not expect to say, oh, I thought this would never happen to me. You might get bust over your goddamn head. And if you got little hoodlums, I don't care if your little hoodlums are 13. I don't care if your hoodlums are 18. I don't care if your hoodlums are 40. Because you know we got some 40-year-old hoodlums in the street. If they kick down your door and take all of your asses, you got to expect it. Just telling you. Mr. Nelson is saying, how many of us harbors hoodlums in our communities? We need to create space between ourselves and them. These people are being used as a tool to destroy our communities. If we don't support them, they can't function. Let me tell you something. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I'm going to tell you this much. If we've been saying what you've been saying for a long time, and that hasn't changed anything. The hoodlums live with grandma. The hoodlums live with auntie. They live with their boo. They live with their mamas. They live on their own. And they got a whole host of family that they feed. Ooh, man, this is a whole nother conversation. There's a whole nother conversation. Time for me to get on out of here. This is a whole nother conversation. Ooh, I just touched on something. So you got to understand the mindset of a hoodlum. And I'm using your words. If it was my grandma's word, you know what it'd be. Because grandma didn't play no games. You using the mindset, of your mindset. You're not using the mindset of the hoodlum. See, if you understand the psychology that goes on in many of these communities, they feed their family. And a lot of people in their family are dependent on them. So they're not going to give up their brother. They're not going to give up their uncle. They're not going to give up their cousin. They're not going to give up their baby father because this is how they survive. And usually they come from families that are so badly impoverished that everybody is losing. So if you are the one winning, whether you're winning legally or illegally, if you are the one winning, many members in the family depend on them for survival. So you saying separate. I understand your concept. That may be easy for you to do. That may be easy for me to do, but that's not easy from these families to do that come from that. They know not to turn on the hand that feeds them. See, Julie, what you talking about? She said, absolutely not. I wouldn't. Are you saying that you wouldn't turn on your family? Let me know what you would, because I don't want to make any assumption, Julie. Right? Colorway Addict says clearly he's sheltered. I don't know if he's sheltered or not. I can't say, oh, Mr. Nelson, are you sheltered? Come on, Mr. Nelson, talk to us. The people want to know, Mr. Nelson, are you sheltered? Right? Sean Scott is saying, yes, it's a very, very tricky situation. See, I understand. Okay, so Julie's saying, I would never turn on my family. There you have it. There you have it, Nelson. See, that's what I mean when I say sometimes what we're saying is come from our own thought process. But what do we do in research, especially when we do qualitative research? Qualitative research is when we go into the community and we make observations. We might speak to people either face-to-face, over the phone, or through surveys. We might set up situations, a test group, like an experiment group versus the control group. We might do little different things so we can get information and data so we can make not only hypotheses, we can formulate new theories. That's what we do in qualitative research. I've been studying people for a very long time. I know they're not going to give up their family members. You can even sit down and say to one of them, your best bet of increasing your income is you have to leave. You have to move out. I can get you in a place, or get you an apartment, get you a job. And if you go too far out of their ghetto lines, the hood, if you go too far out of those lines, they get uncomfortable. Not all, but too many of them. Too many of them. So, as a social worker, we're not going to take you out your lines. We're going to meet you where you at. I'm going to work with you where you are at. So that might require me to do family intervention as opposed to individual intervention. It might be family intervention to get everybody on the same page, but that is difficult. That is difficult, brother, because Mr. Nelson, we're talking about generational poverty. Oh, Mr. Nelson, you got me teaching today. I need to get the hell on over here. I can't be teaching. Listen, I can't be teaching today. This is generational poverty. So it's easy for you to make that statement from where you are at in life. But if you understand the psychological effects of trauma, if you understand the psychological effects of poverty, then you know you're not going to crack that code today. Because that code has been created usually about 3 to 4 generations. And this has become their mindset. This is not by accident. This is by design. This is what social engineering looks like. This is what conditioning looks like. So here's Rambo Whale says it takes a village to raise a child. BS. It takes 2 loving parents. That's not true, Rambo. If you got 2 loving, cracked out, impoverished parents who are functioning addicts, it doesn't mean you're going to fix the problem. See, family, I can't do this tonight. I can't do this tonight, family. I can't. I can't do this tonight. We got to stop making those racial trope comments. It's not true. It's not true. We got to get out of this mindset of believing, oh, well, they come from a 2-parent. You know how many people I counsel that comes from a 2-parent household, and at least, if not both, at least one of their parents was extremely abusive, and that person has the effects of that trauma and that abuse? Come on, people. Are we really thinking like that? That is a racial trope, a racist trope. That's what that is. That's what that is. We can't keep having conversations like this. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. Take those blinders off your eyes so you can see clearly everything around you. Listen, here's the 4th thing I want y'all to get ready for. Mika Woods says me. Me what, Mika Woods? You talking to me or somebody else? Right? Christina Negron said mental illness is the devil. Wake up. Yeah, Christina, your ass sound mentally ill making a comment like that. See, that's another thing about our community. That's another thing about our community. We like to ignore this existence of mental health. You know what's so sad? What I see when I go into some of our homes, you can clearly see a member is suffering from mental illness, clear as day. And in my assessment, within an hour of visiting with that family, I already know that person has schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. I already know it. And everybody in the house ignore it. And the only time they acknowledge it is when his ass is trying to stab one of them. And we get called in from crisis. That's when they try to acknowledge it. Then they're like, I don't know. We just, every time this happens, sometime, he has stopped taking his medication. It's crazy. It's crazy. I got one in my childhood neighborhood. One of the people who live in my childhood community is clearly he has a break with reality. He's always been one of those people that was a little bit different when we was growing up, but it wasn't until he got about 18, 19 years old, which is usually the onset of schizophrenia, he had a break in reality and he became absolutely nuts. And you know what they do? When he starts going off or becoming violent or he starts talking weird stuff and hallucinating all this stuff, everyone just ignores him. They say, oh, you know how he is. He's just like that. That nigga crazy, but he's smart as hell. And they just simply ignore him like nothing is happening. And it pains me because I know he's in pain. And even his family ignores it like nothing is freaking happening. And this is what I see in our community. It's crazy. Mental illness is the devil. Your ass is the devil for that. You probably the one that would have somebody mentally ill in your family and you would ignore it. Talking about, we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray for you. We're going to pray. We're going to get this demon out of you. We're going to cast out the demon with holy waters. Next thing you know, you stabbed up in your bed. Like, I mean, come on now. I don't know why we do things like that. I don't know why we do things like that. That's a whole nother conversation. Here's another thing I want y'all to start doing in Chicago, just in case this martial law gets implemented. Here's another thing I want you to do. I want y'all to make sure y'all have life insurance, because this is going to be a license to kill for a lot of people, not just people in the community. It's going to be people outside of the community coming into the community. They're going to make things happen. There's going to be a license to kill. So we don't have time for no damn GoFundMe pages. We don't have time for it. Get yourself a life insurance policy, even if it's a small one. Even if you get a $10,000 life insurance policy, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. Even if you get a $10,000 term, I don't even know if they have term at $10,000. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to tell me. I know we got people in this chat right now that does life insurance, so y'all going to have to tell me. But get yourself an affordable life insurance policy. Even if you get a 10-year or a 15-year term, a 30-year term, get yourself some life insurance, not only for you, but make sure your children have it too. Right? Make sure you have it. Somebody said, folks, this is a coup. It could be a coup, but you better have some life insurance policy. That's all I'm saying. And the last thing I want to say to you guys, and I'm out of here, is stay connected with family. Stay connected with family. Stay connected to people. Don't be on this. Don't be in this alone. Because what I want you to know is once you start seeing these troops come through your streets, you're going to get triggered. You're going to be traumatized. You don't need to go through this alone. Don't let those thoughts sit on you. Don't let these thoughts sit on you for prolonged periods, because what is going to happen, you know, when your mind gets interrupted with these kind of things, all types of things can start happening. So I want you to know that stay connected with your family. If you have a family, you can stay connected to. If you don't have a biological family, you can stay connected to. Create a family. Family doesn't always have to be blood. You know how we do in our community. It doesn't have to be blood. Create a family, but nonetheless, stay connected. Don't sleep on this. Don't sleep on this. I'm not saying that martial law is coming. What I'm saying to you is the warning has been happening since this president has been campaigning to be president. In 2017, he stepped up his rhetoric as it relates to martial law, and he has been targeting Chicago ever since. So you know what's going to happen. It's going to come on. Yes, Joe Y. Joe Y, I guess it's supposed to be Joey, says stay tuned. You better stay tuned. Mika Wood says, yes, go visit your family now. To hell with the Rona. Go check in. Absolutely. This is not the time to be mad because your sister didn't let you wear her sneakers and your brother borrowed $20 and didn't pay it back. This is not the time to be mad. This is a time for us to be connecting with family. This is a time for us to be connecting with community. And so we know that we have a division within our community. We have a division within the system. A lot of us are on islands by ourselves, but this is not the time to be that way, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to go down. What you want to do is just be prepared. And we already know that many people in our community lack preparation. And too many of our community always think nothing is serious. Ain't that serious? What y'all being all scared for? Y'all get scared over everything until something happens. That's all I have out for you guys. So to Sid, I got your email. You're talking about disadvantaged business enterprise. I am going to read that tonight, but I'm not going to introduce it into this video because it's not on this topic. So I will read it, and if it's a topic that I could present on, I'm going to present on it, okay? And maybe that might be a phone call between you and I, Sid. I love every last one of you guys. Have a peace and blessed night. Be safe.